start the webinar? Okay,
I already started.
great.
So,
Have a good one.
so we are now testing if everyone can hear us properly, if everyone can see us properly. I hope we spend a few more minutes to wait for people to to join.
Sure.
We still have some minutes left.
No problem.
Okay. Webinar is being recorded, so we hope to share the content with you also for your review later. So we are waiting a few more minutes. Still, we have some time. If someone is joining and can just write to us if we can be heard properly, if you can see us properly, we would much appreciate your feedback. In the right top corner, there is a chat which you can use. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Cory. That's nice. Oh, Diana, thank you. So we have still some few seconds to start. Since we are talking about the market, which is far away from my perspective, it's it's Korea, so it's 7-hour difference, if I'm correct. So it's hard to organize the webinar about the market, which is fitting to every time zones. So that's why it will be recorded. It will be populated also on our channels. In WhitePress in Western countries, let's say, and in our channels in China, for example, where we also have our first social media publications done. Okay, Cristina, I think we can start. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it, Przemek.
Okay, so this is the second webinar from our cycle called Go to Asia. The first one was dedicated to Vietnam, and this one is dedicated to South Korea. The idea is to invite the people who have the knowledge about the local markets and can share this knowledge with us, to bring more information about how local markets are performing, what is important there, and we choose the people who can not only share this knowledge but also has this knowledge. And in this case, we are happy to host to welcome here Cristina Song. We know Cristina for more than 1 or 2 years. We first met during one of the conferences organized by WhitePress. It was SEO Vibes Summit. Then we met also in Vietnam at Matsinger's conference. Then I was watching your webinar as well. And I know that from our perspective, from perspective of many Western people, you are the face of the Korean digital market. In fact, Korea is not the only market you are focusing on, because you have expertise in other APAC markets as well. So please welcome our good friend Cristina Song. And Cristina, the stage is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Przemek. All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for joining today's webinar. So as he just introduced, I'm Cristina from Korea. And today I'd like to talk about something I'm genuinely interested about, which is how to build online authority in South Korea. So over the past 8 years, I've worked in SEO across different APAC markets. And today I lead Xpandir, an agency specializing in Korean SEO and market expansion. So during the time, one question keeps coming up, like, how do we actually succeed in Korea? And honestly, that's a great question, because Korea is one of the most attractive digital markets in the world, but it's also one of the easiest places to get wrong if you simply copy like what worked elsewhere. So today, rather than just giving you a technical SEO presentation, I'd like to share what we've learned from actually helping global brands like enter and grow in Korea.
Okay.
Yep. And sorry. All right. Before we begin, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm Cristina, and I'm an SEO lead and co-founder of Xpandir. Xpandir is Spanish, so it's in English. It literally means to expand. So we usually help our clients from all over the world to expand to their preferable APAC markets, such as Korea, Japan, and Singapore, Hong Kong, etc. So we named our agency for that purpose. All right, and and also I've been working in SEO for about 8 years now. And interestingly, I didn't actually start my career in SEO just like any other SEOs. It was a PPC, which is paid ads. And it happened while I was living in India as an expat before COVID. Then I worked for large Korean corporates like Samsung and LG and etc. And yeah, before eventually founding an SEO agency I'm working at right now. And then looking back, I'm actually quite grateful for that journey because it allowed me to allowed me to see the Korean marketing from both sides. So as a Korean, but also from an international perspective as well. So and I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy working with the global companies like so much, as I understand how international marketers or businesses think. But at the same time, I also understand why Korean consumers don't always behave the way people expect as well. So hopefully today I can help you bridge the gap a little. All right, and here's what we'll be covering today. First, we'll be talking about why Korea is such an attractive market in the first place. And then we'll look at why global SEO strategies don't always translate successfully. After that, we'll discuss how online authority is actually built in Korea, particularly through digital PR. And then we'll look through and talk about AI search / GEO because that's changing the way people discover brands. And finally, I'll finish with a few examples from different industries and share some practical lessons we've learned. All right, and my goal today isn't just to convince you that Korea is impossible, actually. It's actually the opposite. So I want to show you that once you understand the local rules, and Korea becomes a very exciting market to grow in. All right. Hey, Przemek, are you ready?
Yes, let's go.
Yeah, to learn more about Korea market today?
Of course, that's why we are here.
Exactly. I hope everyone is ready to. Let's jump in right away. Alrighty, so let's start with a very simple question. Why South Korea? There are some other, very very promising and also very promising APAC markets with the buying power. Then why Korea? So because over the past few years, I've noticed something interesting. So more and more international companies are asking us exactly the same questions. Like, should we enter the Korea markets? Or is it the right timing? Or is it the, right moment for us? And my answer is usually, yeah, why not? But not before you understand how different actually is. So Korea isn't one of those markets where you simply translate your website and launch a few campaigns and expect everything to work. So it has a huge potential, but it also has its own rules. So before talking about SEO, let's first talk about why so many brands are interested in Korea in the first place. I think there are 3 main reasons. First, higher spend per customer. So Korean customers spend. So now, compared to countries like China, India, or even the US, the Korea isn't actually the huge market in terms of the population. We only have around 52 million people. Hey, Przemek, how many people do you guys have in Poland?
Less than 40, 38, I guess, 38 million.
Okay. All right. So it's a bit more than Poland then. So if you're only looking at the population size, and Korea probably wouldn't really be the first choice. But businesses and marketers don't just make money from population. They make money from customers who actually spend money. And the Korean customers, they generally have a strong purchasing power, a lot more purchasing power than most of the Asian countries that you can think of. So whether it's a luxury goods, beauty, premium pet food, and technologies or travel, if people, they once trust your brand, they are willing to spend. All right, why South Korea? Number 2, consumer sophistication. So the second reason is probably my favorite. So the Korean consumers are very, very good researchers. So I'm saying this as a Korean, actually. So before buying almost anything, we research, we compare, we search again and read reviews, we watch YouTube, we check communities, then we finally buy. So sometimes I honestly think a Korean spends more time researching a new shampoo than choosing a university. Yeah, but jokes aside. All right, so this creates a really interesting opportunity, because if your brand earns the trust, the Korean consumers become incredibly loyal. All right, and the last reason, digital infrastructure and e-commerce maturity. And finally, as Korea has one of the most advanced digital infrastructure. So not only the fast internet, almost everyone is connected through smartphones. E-commerce is deeply embedded in everyday life. Free same-day delivery, pretty normal. And if Przemek staying in our host Przemek is staying in Seoul, and then before going to bed, maybe at 11 p.m., he wants to have a very fresh banana from the Philippines at 7 a.m., maybe when he's usually having a breakfast, then you can have that fresh banana from the Philippines at maybe 6:30 sharp at your doorstep. So,
Whoa.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting and convenient. All right. Yeah, as I said, ordering groceries at night, also pretty normal. And consumers, they expect the speed, as I said. So they also expect speed, not only speed, but also the convenience as well. And most importantly, they expect the information to be available immediately. All right, so when you put those 3 things together, consumers who spend, consumers who research, and an incredibly immature digital environment, you get a market with a huge potential. That's why so many global brands are looking at South Korea today. And this is where today's webinar really begins. The opportunity is only half of the story, because the succeeding in Korea isn't really about doing more SEOs and marketing. It's about doing the right kind of strategies. Which brings us to the next question. So how different is Korea really? Is it just like another market where we tweak a few keywords or prompts, or is it fundamentally different? Let's find it out.
Christina, if you don't mind, I prepared some numbers, and I found out that Korea is the country with the higher spending per capita for luxury goods. So $325 per person is being spent in Korea for luxury goods, which is the highest amount in the world. Even if US is in total, as you mentioned, bigger countries are of course the bigger markets, but if you look per customer, then Korea is the leading country. And another interesting thing which you may not know is that in Korea, you developed already the web pages when you can make the purchases just like the fake purchases. It means you are adding the things to the shopping cart, you are pretending to pay, you are ordering something, and it's done only for dopamine. I mean, it's the only purpose of this project is to pretend that you are shopping. So that's the level of development of the e-commerce market. When you are not doing the real shopping, you are doing the shopping for fun.
Yeah, there are a lot of elements that I like about too. Yeah, that is so funny these days. And it looks like you know also a lot about South Korea, Mac.
Well, I was trying to prepare for our webinar today.
Oh, okay, that's fine. You're always so prepared. Thanks for the extra information as well. And then, yeah, I think Shamek just pointed out a really great example, which is the average spends on luxury goods in South Korea. So I think it's like two sides of coin. The good side is a really good opportunity for all kind of luxury brands from all over the world. And then the other side is people being a little bit, how should I say, I'm not really sure to use this word to my own people, but a little bit like, what is the word for it, Shamek? People who like luxury goods so much to look good from outside of view.
Oh, well, I think everyone loves luxury goods to look good.
Yeah, like it's like super. I just don't remember the English like English word right now, but I'll get back to you in a bit.
Okay.
But anyway, in short, so Korean people are known for being like they're known for like loving luxury goods so much. And then actually last year we had an opportunity to work with one of the biggest diamond like accessory brands in the world. I can't really share the name right now because it's a white label contract. And then yeah, we got to work with teams and agencies from like for different markets, and there were China, Taiwan, and Japan, as well as South Korea. And I noticed that South Korea has been spending the most amount of money among the four countries. Yeah, because I mean, like maybe not with Taiwan, but especially compared to China and Japan, the population is much smaller. But I noticed that people tend to spend much more money on diamond accessories. And also, as you know, diamond is really expensive. It is almost as expensive as I think it is technically a B2C business, but if you think about the price, it's similar to B2B business. So even just selling one product is a massive win for that brand. And then we did SEO for them, maybe for a few months, and then because it was like Q3 before the end of the year was coming, and then they had a limited budget to spend on PPC, and we wanted them to spend their PPC budget wisely. So they wanted to put more input for SEO, and we hit the targets. We try to make the sales happen organically as much as possible in the limited time, and that happened. So I think it kind of aligns with what you just shared about Korean people spending a lot of money on luxury goods.
But to reach this audience, we need to know how to do it, and it's not that easy as it is in Western countries, right?
Yeah, it is definitely not. Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's move to the second chapter, and which is still beginning of this webinar. All right. So we've just established that South Korea is an attractive market. Like customers spend, they are digitally sophisticated, and the opportunity is definitely there. But then another question kind of comes up, like if the opportunity is so obvious, then why do so many global brands struggle? I've seen a lot of global brands just come and go, or maybe stay for longer than expected and still go and still stay. All right. So as I mentioned before, after working with international companies for years, I think the answer is actually quite simple. So they don't fail because of their bad SEO, because of their SEO strategy is bad. They fail because they assume that people search, research, and buy the same way everywhere, and that's simply not true. So, how different is Korea? And I think there are three major differences. And interestingly, each one naturally leads to the next. Different search ecosystem. Let's start from there. And so whenever people think about Korean SEO, the first thing they usually say is, oh yeah, Naver. I heard about the search engine, Naver. And yes, Naver is obviously a huge part of the story. But I actually think that people focus on the wrong thing. The biggest difference isn't that Korea has another search engine. The biggest difference is that Korea has another ecosystem. So Google was, for example, the Google was built around helping users find the best pages on the web. That's what we know. But for Naver, the Naver was built around helping users find the answers inside the Naver. That is very greedy. So just think of Naver as North Korea in South Korea. Yeah, I think that would be the easiest way to think. All right, so that is a completely different philosophy if you compare Naver and Google, as I just mentioned. All right, so think about it this way: like you search, you read blogs, and you compare products, and you read community discussions. You also check maps, watch videos, and of course, browse shoppings. And you can do most of it without leaving Naver. That's why I always say you're not just optimizing for a search engine, you're entering an ecosystem. And once the ecosystem changes, something else changes too. It's search behavior. This is probably the biggest difference I see. So people often assume users search the same way around the world, but they actually don't. So Korean consumers love researching, especially before buying something. Like they rarely stop after one search, like even before the AI coming up. Like they search again, they compare, they read reviews, then visit blogs, maybe check a community, like a neighbor cafe. Maybe these days they ask to ChatGPT and then search again. It's almost like every purchase has become a small research project. And honestly, it's exactly the same. So even if I'm buying something simple like a pair of headphones, back in the days, maybe 20 tabs later, I'm suddenly reading a blog written like 3 years ago. And then my friend would say, oh, it's just because you work in SEO, you're so crazy about reading reviews and stuff. But I'll tell them like, no, like, because I'm Korean. I gotta make sure my money, every single cent is, worth it. And yeah, so because people search differently, they also buy differently. This is where everything comes together. So in many global SEO strategies, we imagine a fairly straightforward journey. Like someone searches and clicks your website and hopefully converts. But in Korea, it usually much more fragmented. So someone might first discover your brand, let's say maybe through a news article, then they check a neighbor blog review just to make sure, and then maybe read some comments in the neighbor cafe community, and then compare products, and then also ask ChatGPT. And oh, by the way, the ChatGPT can't really crawl any neighbor any platform under Naver's ecosystem. So yeah, that's why people actually search separately. Anyway, they also ask ChatGPT, and only after all of that, they finally visit your website or the platforms that sells your website. So yeah, so that's where journey ends. All right, so here's something I often tell our clients. Like your website isn't always the first impression. Sometimes it's the final confirmation. All right, so let me wrap it up this. So that's why for everything what I said, that's why I always tell international brands, like, don't just localize your website, localize the entire customer journey. Because in Korea, like, success isn't just about like speaking Korean. or translating into Korean correctly, it's about understanding how Korean customer discover you, and also find your brand during the research and trust it at some point. So there's an old saying, when in Rome, do as Romans do. And I think exactly the same applies to SEO and marketing. So when you are in South Korea, market the way Korean consumers buy. And once you understand that, the next question becomes like, how do you actually build trust in this ecosystem? And that's exactly what I'd like to explore next. So we're going to talk about online authority.
Cristina, may I ask some questions? So if I understand correctly, Naver is a kind of environment which is similar to what we experience in China with Baidu. So when you search something, you don't have the list of websites like we usually have in Google, right? But you have the results which are coming from the ecosystem inside, right? From Naver Cafe, from other Naver apps, which I don't even know how to call them. So Naver is showing you what is inside the Naver, not the web pages itself, right?
Sure. I think, what about we just pause the presentation maybe for 1 minute, and then I can actually show you the surf of Naver.
Perfect. Also, we mentioned Naver, so it would be good to say that it's Navir. So this is the name of the environment, the browser, let's say.
Right. So since Przemek is joining the webinar from Poland, I just literally type Poland travel, and I believe this is not only like short to mid-tail keyword, but also it could be quite commercial, because a lot of travel agencies can come up for this like specific niche. And then let me also translate this in English. Yep. So usually it's not just because this is commercial keyword. For a lot of keywords that are not fully informative, you get to see ads first. So Poland travel related advertisement. Yes, quite lengthy. So like for a lot of Koreans, like, also for Google search, like if you see ads, you scroll to see the organic search, right? So what I usually do is, as soon as I search, I scroll like 3 times, then I get to see something organic-ish result afterwards. So after the lengthy ads, what I see is a basic information about the Poland. So is as basic as the information that we can get from like a Wikipedia. And then Poland travel guide as well. So, and second. Let me also quickly go through. Yeah, it has a Poland travel guide. It also says that Poland's representative travel destination. So it's also like it's extended information from this Wikipedia-ish basic information. And I believe that, this is advertisements as well from online travel agencies. And we haven't seen organic results yet, just letting you know. Yes, and then there's an influencer coming up. So it's neighbor bloggers. Once they become like influencer level, they can register themselves as an influencer, and then they can appear for this kind of keywords.
I think the important part of this environment, which you can somehow use to influence the results, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not exactly organic, but it's one of the key part of neighbor marketing in general. And you get to see neighbor clips, which is short videos. And then there you go. I think 1 second. Poland overseas travel post. So I believe these are all like neighbor blogs.
Still no organic result.
No, not yet. Neighbor blogs, and it could be Neighbor Cafe. I think this is Neighbor Cafe. And on Neighbor blog, you can kind of check the real life review, real life experience, and kind of thing. So its name is blog, but I just run it to consider it as a social media.
But does it mean that Korean people are not looking for these organic results? In fact, they are using what is proposed to them on the top, like advertisement, neighbor cafe, influencers, post, those things are being used, right?
Yeah. So as I said, I think I can come up with the difference between Google and Neighbor once again. So Google's propaganda is like, we will show you what you're looking for, no matter where that is from. And for Neighbor's propaganda is, we'll show you what you're looking for within our ecosystem. If we have something, what you're looking for is outside of our ecosystem, I don't know about that. we gotta prioritize our ecosystem first, and organic comes a bit later. So for a long time, I used to refuse to call Neighbor search engine for that reason.
Yeah.
I call it search service, but anyway. And after the Neighbor blog, you get to see another basic information, and here we go. Finally, organic results in the middle. Yeah, it's mostly news. And then another ad. Oh, so this is the organic result number 1, which is part of, yeah.
If I understand correctly, people in Korea have access to Google as well without any limitation, right?
Of course,
yeah,
of course.
Of course. So
exactly.
What are the preferences? I mean, for what kind of searches Google is being used, and what kind of searches Neighbor is preferred?
Right. So there's it's not always this way, but like there's a very simple way to answer your question. So for everything informative, also for younger generation, they tend to, or they prefer to use Google. But as you said, as you see right now, like sometimes you just want to have some information about the simple things, but Neighbor shows you too many things, like from ads and too much basic information and stuff like that. But usually Google is way better than that. Google's actually way better search engine for everything. But anyway, so everything informative, Google's better. And also if it is for tech, SaaS, or B2B industry in general, like people tend to search more on Google. And so as I just said before, everything informative, people prefer Google, but everything commercial, people prefer Neighbor, because when people are in the in the kind of end of the buying journey, let's say they're ready to buy certain products, they know the brands and brand name, and they briefly know the price as well, then they just type the exact product they're looking for, either on Neighbor Shopping or another like major platform called Coupang, because if they do that on either of the platforms, they can buy exactly the same platform for the best product, and perhaps potentially with a free delivery service as well.
Yeah, we didn't mention Coupang, which is also important as the entry to the buying journey, right?
Exactly. It will be I'll explain more about this in a bit. But yeah, it's this way. So everything informative, tech B2B, tech SaaS B2B, Google. Everything commercial, people tend to search on Neighbor. And also if they're looking for not only commercial, but also like B2C e-commerce in general, I think that also tends to be Neighbor as well. We noticed this trends because like we do keyword research for almost all SEO clients we have, and then it falls this way. Yeah. Yeah, but not 100% most of the time. Yeah. And then let me just finish. And
Okay.
but then the easiest way to find out the organic search results on Naver is just simply going to the second page. Scroll down all the way, and you see this number of the pages, and click second, and you get to see this is technically the second page, but this is the organic result number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So it'll be useful if you have to pull out Naver data using your API or AI or anything. All right, let's go back to the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. All right. So we've talked about the opportunity, and we talked about why Korea is different. And the next question is probably the most practical one. So how do you actually build an online authority in South Korea?
Oh, I'm sorry, Cristina, I'm sorry for interrupting. We got the question from Korea Lang. I heard that blog is no longer popular. Do Cristina agree with this?
Blog as in Naver blog?
Yeah, I think so.
It depends. Like, it's actually it was going to be less popular with, like there's one feature I didn't really get to introduce. It is called the Naver briefing. Naver briefing is the equivalent of Google's AI overview. If Google has an AI overview, Naver has an AI briefing. And then when Naver introduced AI Naver briefing for the first time, all of a sudden we got to see a lot of organic results, like mentioned and cited and etc. But then over time, Naver started like pulling like content more from their own ecosystem. So in short, Naver blog was going to be less popular, but it still matters.
Okay.
So yeah, and also we have to also think about certain generations' search behavior as well. Korea is the average age of Korea, which I don't remember right now, but it's actually quite old. I think it's one of the oldest, as this country doesn't really have a high birth rate. Yeah, so when the older the audience are, the less they change the way they search. Even though they know there's an AI and it's better, it's more convenient, but there's a way they used to the way they usually search for maybe a past decade, and it's really hard for them to change the way. So they still go for Naver and then refer the information from Naver blog. And also, as I mentioned before, Naver is just a social media. Just think of Naver as same as Facebook, Instagram, or similar to that. So when we work on the Naver content, it always has to be the tone and manner has to be always like casual and friendly, and also the content can't really be lengthy, and there should be more images than text sometimes, because people actually consume the content like social media content. And so if I just wrap up the answer once again, it still matters because Naver started citing and mentioning Naver blog content on the Naver briefing. And then second, the older generation search behavior, the second reason. And the last reason is Naver blog is actually the best place where people can actually find a real life review, whether it's sponsored or not. And if you use GPT or Gemini or other AI platforms, you cannot really get that content, because almost every single Naver platform doesn't really allow AI to crawl their ecosystem at all.
Oh.
Yeah. So I would say it still matters. But then there's one thing that you must have to know before going for Naver blog. If you are looking for your brand awareness, higher brand awareness, higher brand visibility, Naver blog is actually a great place to start. And then if you already have your great content on your website, then you can just simply do the mirroring And you can use AI just to change the tone and manner and the length of the content, and change a little bit for the different audience as well. And so with one content, then you can publish many other content in a different format and tone and manner, right? And you can use one type for Naver blog, the other one for Kakao, another one for Instagram, etc.
Okay.
So yeah, it's one of the easiest way as well, and you don't have to worry too much about the content duplication so far. Yeah, I hope I answer his question. Is there another question, Przemek?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right, so let's go back to the presentation. All right, so yeah, before this topic authority, we talked about the opportunity, we talked about Korea is different, and the next question is probably, I think, the most practical one for this webinar, which is, how do you actually build online authority in South Korea? And whenever I speak to an international like business owners or like marketers or SEOs, I usually hear one answer, like, online authority, we'll build maybe backlinks, and which makes perfect sense because that's how many of us learned SEO from back in the days. But in Korea, it's not that simple. So let me explain why. And there are three reasons. These are digital PR looks very different in Korea. All right, number one, neighbor-centric ecosystem. First, the internet itself is different, as we just learned in the previous chapter. So Korea has a very neighbor-centric ecosystem, and much of user journey happens inside neighbor. So remember, North Korea is neighbor is North Korea residing within South Korea. So yeah, so much of the user journey happens inside a neighbor. So like neighbor blog, neighbor cafe, neighbor news, neighbor shopping, neighbor knowledge in, which is neighbors Quora. And so unlike many Western markets, especially in Europe and North America, users are not just constantly moving between thousands of independent websites. They are just spending the much more time inside one ecosystem naturally. So I think that creates the fewer opportunity for the kind of large-scale link building campaigns many global SEOs are familiar with. Oh, and then for your information, the neighbor platforms I just mentioned as an example, like a neighbor blog, neighbor cafe, neighbor shopping, neighbor knowledge in, they all have the same domain as well. Yeah. Just the software and slugs are different to distinguish different users and different owners, different users, different pages. And then second reason is SEO is still evolving, right? So yeah, so SEO itself is still evolving in Korea. So if you compare Korea with markets like UK or the US, so SEO became the mainstream much later. And traditionally, the companies, they also invested more in PR, like performance marketing, and including PPC and influencers, obviously, and the most importantly, neighbor marketing. So SEO has grown significantly over the past few years, especially with the GEO, but it's still developing, and which means many concepts that feels completely normal internationally are still relatively new here. So yeah, right. And then the last reason. And then, so as I just say that, so the many concepts that we feel completely normal internationally are still relatively new here. And that brings to probably the biggest difference, because there isn't really a link building culture in Korean digital PR industry. There is no. If I call any newspaper tomorrow and say, "Hi, I'd like to discuss about link building," they'd probably ask like, "What is link building?" Trust me, 100%. So not because they're doing something wrong, it's simply because that hasn't traditionally been a part of the industry. And yeah, so digital PR has always been viewed through the lens of PR, like branding, media exposure, but not really SEO. Right. And this actually, this is gonna be an interesting. So this is actually one of the biggest challenges we faced at our agency, Xpandir. For that reason, we didn't really have that service until the middle of last year. We recently established and opened that service to our clients. So when we launched our digital PR service about a year ago, so we were not just introducing a new service. We were just introducing a completely new concept to the whole industry. So that means spending months talking with the publishers and meeting newspaper companies and explaining why online authority matters and explaining how digital PR could create value, not only for international brands, but for publishers, for themselves as well. So these conversations were not really easy. The Korean publishers are incredibly professional, I would say. So they are also understandably being cautious as well. So they care deeply about their reputation. So this wasn't something that we could solve by sending hundreds of cold emails. And we had to build a trust first. Yes, in this era of AI, we still have to go visit them and go have a long talk and build a trust over time. So one publisher at a time, one relationship at a time. Right. And interestingly, I think AI has made those conversations a bit easier as well. So because publishers everywhere are asking the similar questions, like, oh, since you're an SEO and running an SEO agency, so can you please do a quick consulting for us? Like, how do we stay relevant? Like, how do we create the value, and how do we adapt? So today, we are seeing much more openness to long-term partnership than we did a few years ago.
Okay.
And I genuinely believe that that's good for everyone, like good for publishers, good for brands, and ultimately good for users as well. Yeah.
Cristina, may I ask the question to summarize this? Excuse me, if I properly understand. You told us about the differences between a Naver ecosystem and the Google. So
Yeah.
if we are talking about AI, about online authority, digital authority in Korea, we need to do two different things to focus on one thing, which is Naver, and to focus on Google, right? And if I understand correctly, Naver is already so well explored by local brands that it will be really hard to compete. However, we may see some opportunity in Google because SEO is still evolving. So probably local SEO is not that strong. And with the partner as you are, as Xpandir, which knows local environment, probably foreign clients can go much more faster via Google channel, which is also more familiar for them than building from scratch their presence in Naver. Is it correct?
Well, partially, but let me just put more details in it. So as I said, if your brand is in industry like tech, SaaS, B2B, then you can consider it. But don't not only relying on the which industry you are, but also do a quick maybe keyword research and figure out maybe a set of keywords, maybe with 100 keywords. Let's do a quick keyword research, and if they're getting more traffic from Google, then it's Google-focused industry. Then once you confirm that, then I think the link building is worth it. So if I can actually expand your question, I think building online authority is helpful, as we know, is helpful for GEO, right? Because it's not only just promoting the brands on owned brand, but also like outside of the owned brands. So obviously, it gives more opportunity to brands as well. So for GEO, it helps, but for SEO itself, I would say only for Google focused industry, like it has the benefits.
I see.
Yeah.
But by the way, we all know here the tools like SEMrush, Ahrefs to monitor our performance in Google. What about monitoring the performance in Naver? Are there any tools for this purpose?
Sure, absolutely. So there are quite a few, thanks to a few of international tools. Like they didn't actually have to care too much about Korea, because Korea is only one market using Naver, right? But some of them are actually showing the Naver data. But then for international or Google SEO, I would say the first data you refer is your own GA or Google Search Console data, right? I recommend the same. So like if you can get Naver traffic data from GA as well. I mean, almost for any SEO or like marketer can figure this out really quickly and easily on GA. So but then there's one type of data that you can't get from GA, which is a keyword data.
Okay.
So for example, we get Google keyword data. Google keyword data if you look through a Google Search Console, or if you connect Google Search Console to a GA, right? But obviously you cannot connect the GA with Naver Search Console, and so you gotta look at the Naver Search Console. The name of it is Naver Search Advisor.
Okay.
It's not as amazing, as user-friendly as Google Search Console, but you get to see the top 30 ranking keywords, and then also top 30 pages and things like that. So it's pretty also helpful. So what I recommend is GA and Naver Search Advisor first. That is the first. And then second one is, I would say perhaps Dragonmetric is pretty good. I think I personally know the CEO, and that he should appreciate me promoting his tool right now. Yeah. So Dragonmetric, if you go for the standard option, and then you can have like you can kind of use a filter for the markets and which search engine that you want to focus on. Then you can use that as well. And one of the feature I like the most about is like the average ranking, because I can't get the data on GA on Naver Search Advisor, but then I want to see how my content are doing, and over time how it is like improving. And so what I do is like I have a like set of target keywords or prompts. Sometimes I just upload it in one of the features on Dragonmetric, and then if I actually upload a lot of keywords, it's gonna take a few hours to half a day. So usually I check the next day, and it shows the average, the ranking, so I can see which keywords are doing good, doing not good, things like that.
Thank you very much. And regarding the point 3, I would say from my perspective as a WhitePress, that when we are covering a lot of markets, we see that in some markets, if you do not have local team, if you do not have a local person to build the relationship with the publishers, you can do nothing from outside. And I think this is exactly the case in Korea, as you mentioned. Relationships drive authority, and it's not that easy that you simply write to the person from Poland to Korean newspaper to get the link. It does not work like this at all.
It doesn't. Just imagine like I'm a Korean, born and brought up in Korea, and still lives here, and like even me, like I got rejected 100 times. A lot of times, like it's their first time hearing about like link building and the brand mention and authority building for GEO. Like they've never really heard about it. So I kind of like I got considered as a scammer to them a lot of times. And even me as a local getting considered this way. But imagine you reaching out to them in English, like sending a one cold email and saying everything they don't really know much about. It's gonna get ignored. The email is not gonna get opened. So so it's gonna be pretty challenging for now. I really hope things can change maybe in a few years. But as you know, I think newspaper, like media industry, are usually more conservative and strict than other industries, right? So I don't think it's gonna change very soon. So what I recommend is reaching out to like link building platforms or agency like a WhitePress who has a connections to the local agency like us.
Well, it's not secret. We can say it that we have partnership with you, Cristina, and we officially launched Korean market today. So there are already publishers available in the platform which you can use as a client to publish your content. And this was done properly, so it's not the fake offer; it's the real offer with real publishers, with real metrics. Feel free to use.
Exactly. And then as I mentioned before, like that for the local publisher point of view, like that is a new concept, new service, and something new they are like trying. So usually we are going through quite a bit of like a back and forth, but now it is a systemized. And there are things that they cannot really do according to their internal policy, and we usually accept. But also for if our clients are insisting on quite a few things that they want to get done, like, and these are the must, then we also go talk to them and do a negotiation.
Perfect.
So yeah, so like, there are a lot of room for negotiation, so improvement as well. So
Again, this
yeah,
is the
exactly.
advantage of being local. This is an advantage of keeping this relationship with the publishers. Exactly. That's what matters in this business.
Yeah. And also,
I'm sorry.
now we at Xpandir, we have I think close to 200 newspaper publishers within our agency, and we have contacted each of them, and then we already got a permission to them. The permission as in like that we can reach out to them if we are in need of like collaborating with them in the near future. So we've already discussed the price range, our kind of like the they already know our checklist, and the what kind of clients we usually have and everything. The collaboration will be very, very smooth once we start working on it together.
Christina, some questions regarding it, because, for example, what topics you think will be accepted and not, and what topics are definitely not accepted regarding the publications? As we know, there are some niches like gambling, cryptocurrencies, loans, forex. What can you please give us more information about this type of?
Right. So everything 18 plus, we cannot do at all. That's a must. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter as a small newspaper only getting published in the small countries out of Korea or the biggest one in Korea. It doesn't matter. The 18 plus is a banned at all. Yes. And the second is, I think if it's related to e-gaming, gambling, it is also mostly pretty hard. And also because like once we collaborate, once our clients collaborate, the publishers through us, it is not only influencing our clients' brands, but also to the publisher as well, and they're also brand as well. And so they, at this moment, like they're being very, very cautious. So they're afraid, like let's say our partner publisher is like IT, one of the most famous IT newspaper in Korea, but they're afraid of like ruining their image by publishing something about iGaming or gambling.
Okay. To make it easier for our clients, we agree with you that we offer the publications with copywriting included. It means that copywriting is under control of the publisher to make it easier for the publishers to accept and the streamline the project. I would like to ask you about the language. Maybe it's the stupid question, but Korean language, is it one language? Is it one alphabet using for this for the Korean language, or is it like in China, traditional Chinese, simplified Chinese?
So I think it's maybe think like, well, actually the grammar is, I heard that is similar to Japanese, but in the alphabet point of view, it'll be similar to English. For example, in English we have like vowels and consonants, right? And we kind of mix them around. And that's how people come up with their words and sentences. And it's pretty much the similar, because Korean language was invented by a historical figure that we know. Like, I don't know which year exactly, but about like 500 to 600 years ago. So it's a relatively a new language. So for example, Przemek, you wouldn't know who created the Polish language, right? Because it's an old language.
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
But unlike that, for Korean, during the Joseon Dynasty, like a long time ago, there was a time like people had their own language, spoken language, but they used to use the Chinese character, and that was the kind of like a prestige from only the upper class.
Okay.
So lower class, they couldn't really read a book and write a letter to their people and things like that. So 300 years ago, there was this king, one of our kings called Sejong, and he worked on our own language.
Okay. So now, in fact, there is one alphabet and one Korean language.
No, I would say it's maybe one or two consonants plus one or two vowel, and then it's gonna, with all together, it's gonna be one syllable.
Okay, so how to choose the proper one for the link building, for the content creation?
Is it also related to the Korean language?
Yeah, I mean, which is there any Korean language variants, which options which we should choose for the Korean language?
I think you think about Korean language similar to like a Japanese, because for Japanese there are 4 different ways of writing, right? Kanji, hiragana, katakana.
Yes,
but
yes.
It's not like that. There's one version. You don't have to worry too much.
Perfect. Thank you. That was my question. Sorry, I asked it wrongly. The question is if we can use one language for the communication, for the blog post, for the link building, for the content writing on the page. Perfect. Okay. I interrupted you again, and now I think we are now in the front of the very interesting part when you can give us some information about AI and SEO, right?
All right, so let's jump in. I think after the online authority I just told about, this will be the second most interesting topic today. All right, so far we've been talking quite a bit about how people search today, but I think all of us know that search is changing, obviously, and probably the faster than any of us expected. So a couple of years ago, I believe the most of SEO discussion were about just Google updates. But today, everyone is talking about AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity, AI Overview, GEO. And naturally, and one of the questions I get asked the most often is, what does this look like in South Korea? I think, again, there are 3 interesting things happening right now. So let me also go through one by one. So the first one is kind of like Korea is embracing AI quickly. So if I can give you more information, I think there are less than 5 countries. If we can call like top 5 AI leader countries in the world, and Korea is definitely one of them, but it's not only for B2B businesses, it's also for individuals as well. So yeah, this is very encouraging, I think. So Korea has become, for example, one of the biggest ChatGPT markets as well. Like now, the population of Korea, which is on like 52 million people, but in fact, it's one of the highest paying subscriber markets globally as well. So number one is US, and then second is South Korea. So you can see like how much people are interested in using like AI platforms and AI services in general. So I think that tells us something very important. So the Korean consumers are willing to adopt new technology very quickly. And honestly, that is not very surprising. And we've seen the same pattern with, for example, smartphones, online shopping, and mobile payment, and I think it's now AI. So the Koreans are usually early adopters. So from an SEO perspective, AI isn't something like we should prepare for in 5 years. It's already literally already happening. And then the second is, so Naver is changing too. I'm gonna talk about the Naver briefing I mentioned before. So so this isn't about AIO and ChatGPT. And so as I said, Naver is changing as well. So recently, not recently actually, quite a while ago, is that the year before last year, Naver introduced something called the AI briefing, which is essentially its own AI-generated search experience. So it's like Naver's AI overview. So even the country's largest search platform, Naver, recognizes the search behavior is evolving. So the users increasingly want just answers, not just 10 blue links like we see on Google. And so they just want summaries, like recommendations, faster decisions. And that's changing how brands needs to think about visibility as well. All right. Oh, sorry. Okay. And third, it is actually the data battle. Neighbor shopping and coupon blocking AI crawling. All right. The third point is probably, I think, the most interesting. At the same time, AI is growing. Some of Korea's largest platforms, including Neighbor Shopping and Coupon, have started restricting AI crawlers. So which creates the fascinating situation. So AI wants more information, and platforms wants to protect the content and like competitive advantages. So I think we are entering a new phase where access to information becomes part of the competition itself. Yeah. So even though it is one of the leader countries for the AI and technologies in the world, like people don't really shop from ChatGPT results yet because of this restriction. So I think this is something that we will all be watching very closely over the next few years. All right. So what does all of this mean for SEOs? Like, should we stop doing SEO, or should we replace everything with a GEO? I really don't think so. I actually see the GEO as just an evolution of SEO, just like many SEOs agree with me. So it's not a replacement. So good SEO is still the foundation, following the recent Google the announcement. But today, we are building for more than just search engines. We are just building for AI system that summarize and recommend and cite information. All right. And yeah, so if I can just bring it back to authority, and this is why I spent so much time earlier talking about authority as well. So because whether it's Google, maybe Naver later, or AI, so one thing hasn't really changed. I think there's one thing hasn't really changed. It's like trust. I think the trust still matters to everyone. Like the brand with there's like, as I say, trust still matters, and brand with strong authority and credible media coverage, expert content, and a consistent digital presence. These things are like in a much better position to be discovered. And the tactics may evolve, but the principles stay remarkably similar, I believe. And then one thing I always tell my client is always being realistic. So today we are seeing lots of AI outputs, right? AI summaries, AI recommendations, AI answers, and then I think everyone's the only and the most favorable KPI is the number of citation and number of brand mentions. But these are outputs; it's not outcomes yet. Yeah. So, but someone just asked me, "Hey, Christina, can you prove the AI generated this much revenue?" My honest answer is not yet. And if you find anyone else who can answer this question, be aware. I mean, be careful about that. So the technology is moving incredibly quickly, and yeah, the measurement is still catching up, as I said, but the attribution is still catching up, and the business are still learning. So I don't think we are at the stage where every company should completely rebuild their the marketing strategy around the AI. But I do think we are at the stage where every company should start preparing for this.
And again, when watching this AI environment you presented to us, it seems that the only way to monetize AI view is to go via Naver now, because Naver is connected to the selling environment, like Naver Shopping and the other Naver environment, which is supporting the shopping. So we are visible in ChatGPT results, still they are not connected to any of those Naver shopping environment, right? It's so Naver has some advantage in Korea still.
Yeah, and also I think from this moment, not from WhitePress partner or not from the CEO of Xpandir, I'm just gonna share my personal opinion a little bit. I think, in my very, very, very personal opinion, Naver has its end, because Naver hasn't really been acting as a search engine for a long time. It's more like greedy search service, prioritizing their own services and getting money out of it. So I think always user experience wins, but Naver is not really following up on it. And sooner or later, Naver has to decide whether they want to be as user-friendly as Google, coming up with a Gemini and Naver, Google AI overview and things like that, or they just survive with only few of the platforms they have, because they're the market leaders, and they still a lot of their platforms and features are kind of a dominance in the market, like Neighbor Map, Neighbor Shopping, and things like that. So I think either just Neighbor will have its own end, or it will just survive with a few of their platforms. That's my very personal opinion.
Well, it's already recorded, so we will see in a few years when coming back to this webinar if your predictions were correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also both Naver and Google in Korean market, they're already losing their market share when it comes to search. So it's not that a lot. They're losing their market share tiny bit by bit. It's not even 1% every month. It's 0 point something. But if we just collect 0 point something every month for a few years, I think it's gonna make remarkable difference. A lot of people will move to AI platforms, or even Google, or some other the third platforms, because it's simply inconvenient to do this search work and ask questions there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see how it looks like in practice. I guess you got some cases to present for us.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so I think until now, we've covered quite a lot today. We talked about Korea's market. We talked about how Korean consumers search differently. We talked about digital PR. We talked about AI. So I'd like to finish by sharing a few lessons from different industries we've worked with. and they are very different businesses. But interestingly, they all arrive at the same conclusion. All right. I think Przemek actually brought a really great point about Korean people spend a lot of money on luxury goods, because the first main industry we get the most inquiry from is luxury, fashion, and beauty. And so we are going to start with that industry first. So one thing we've constantly seen is the Korean customers don't simply buy luxury products. As I say, they research them, they compare them, they want to reassurance before making a purchase. So which means like simply translating your product page is never enough, and you need to localize a messaging, like local search intent, like local content, and strong brand credibility, and especially in premium industry as well. So because the trust often becomes your biggest competitive advantage as well. So one of the examples I just randomly come up right now is about the one of the luxury brands we've been working almost for like 4 years in a row. Like I started my own agency like about 1.5 years ago, but it was my freelancing client and eventually my agency clients later on. So like I think the East Asia is one of their biggest markets. So every time before the Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year or coming close, they come up with new set of like luxury accessories. You know, like their Chinese horoscope, and there are 12 animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll figure out your animal, Przemek, later on. But anyway, so but yeah, so there's some luxury brands targeting Asia like really hard. They come up with necklace, bracelets, and earrings, or maybe some figures in that specific animal shape. But the thing is, yes, that tradition is originally coming from China, but I think a lot of Korean audience would be offended if they see it as like Chinese horoscope or like Chinese something.
Okay.
Because even though it is actually coming from China, and it is true that we were growing up like learning it as our own. So people know that it's not coming from China, but then it's part of our Korean culture as well.
Mhm.
That we got influence from China. So brands has to be extremely careful about using the word China, like especially if it is translated into Korea. So, but as you can see, a lot of Western brands, if they're like maybe first timer in Korean market, it is very easy to make this kind of mistake. But it's not just, and if that happens, and also afterwards the brands get offended by the audience, it'll be pretty hard to get the good image back later on. So what I want to highlight here is the localized content. It's not only simply about translating, truly understanding the local markets, understanding search intent, and the very localized content. Yeah. All right, and the second one is tourism. Yeah, it is one of the main industries that we get to work in the Korean and SEO industry as well. The travel is an incredibly competitive industry, as you can see, and especially in Korea as well. So the people are literally compare everything like price, reviews, maps, blogs, and videos, and recommendations. And because the customer journey evolves so many touch points, the visibility across the multiple platforms, they become incredibly important as well. So if people can't really discover your brand during their research, it's very difficult to become the part of their final decision as well. And then also there's another thing I want to share about Korean users. Like it's not about behavior, but kind of like background information about how Korean people go on a holiday. So they might have a lot of public holidays, but they don't really have a lot of days off. So most of people have about 15 to 20 days off in a year, depending on how many years they've worked at their work. So with the public holidays together, it could be close to 40 or even more than that in a year. But you can only choose your own personal holiday, like 15 to 20 years. And then, so it's a little bit, and also it's, according to Korean culture, like it's not really easy to go on a holiday more than 1 week. So what people do is they need to get the most out of it. They might just buy economy flight, but they tend to go for 5-star hotel and try to enjoy everything luxury. But these are expensive, so they tend to go somewhere closer, to somewhere not expensive, like Thailand, Vietnam, or Malaysia, and things like that. So I think that's why a lot of OTAs main Asia market is Korea, because their wallets open. Yeah. Right. And then let's move to the last industry, which is B2B tech and SaaS. And finally, B2B tech and SaaS. This is actually one of my favorite industries to work with, because unlike consumer brands, Google often plays a much bigger role, as mentioned like a couple of times. The decision makers are actively searching for solutions, something informative, practical, and they're reading the comparison pages, technical documents, industry articles, AI-generated summaries, which means like authority becomes even more important. So not only for the traditional SEO, but increasingly for AI visibility as well. Yeah, so the stronger your reputation, the easier it becomes for people and AI to discover you. So what did all three industries have in common? They have different products, different customers, and different buying journeys. But yet, the same lesson, it kept appearing. So the brand that performed the best were not necessarily the ones with the biggest the marketing budgets. So they were the ones that invested in understanding the local markets. So they localized, they built authority, and they earned trust, because at the end of the day, the SEO is never just about the algorithm, it's about the people, right? So people who actually spends on it. So and yeah, so people buy from the brands they trust. All right, so yeah, I think so if there's one thing I'd like you to remember from today's webinar, I think it's this: South Korea offers incredible opportunity, but the success doesn't just come from copying what worked elsewhere. It comes from understanding how Korean consumers discover, evaluate, and trust brands. And so we got to build a trust. And SEO, digital PR, and even AI visibility become much easier. So I want to thank you all of you so much for your time today. And then I really appreciate you joining me. And I'd like to be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Cristina. Let me summarize like this. If someone feels comfortable with expanding to Korea and wants to do it on his own, in WhitePress, the offers for publications are ready. But if someone really wants to go deeply into the topic and needs some expertise, then please go to Xpandir, go to Cristina. And one important thing, as you see, Cristina is speaking effectively English language, which is not so common in Korean SEO. So Cristina and her team can provide you with the proper service and helps you to choose the proper path for your brands, either Naver, either Google. So after this webinar, you are not left alone. You can choose the path you need for your business expansion.
Sure. Thank you so much for introducing a little more about me and my agency, Przemek. And if I can just add a few more things, actually, most of our clients sits like outside of our usual time zone. So me and my team members, our working hours are a little different. We start working late and also finish late as well. So if you're residing, especially in Europe and Middle East and North America, just don't worry too much about the time difference. We'll make it somehow. So please reach out. And my favorite thing is and when it comes to anything related to SEO and GEO is just discussion. So if you have any questions and want to have a simple discussion and have an e-copy chat or anything you are interested in Korean markets, I'm happy to do so. So yeah, so you can see my email, and also you can just simply type my name on LinkedIn, because I believe that my only Cristina Song who does SEO and living in Korea. So you can simply find me as well.
If you type SEO Korea and Cristina, there is no other chance to find someone else. There will be you. Cristina, I think we should recommend also the other event when we and our friends will be present, especially for those who are interested in Asian markets. There is an online event organized in September. It's Asia SEO conference. I think
virtual one.
Yeah, everyone can Google it, and there will be a lot of people from different countries, different Asian countries, including you, including Marcus from China. So there will be people who can share the knowledge about local markets, and I believe everyone who is really interested in expanding to APAC region should focus on it. Another thing is SEO in Seoul. Yeah, so the first edition of this conference with such a scale, I think, when you also will be a speaker, right? This autumn. So again, everyone who is really interested in entering the market should attend the event, can meet you directly there, can discuss the topics, and can feel the vibe of the Korean market directly.
Sure, absolutely. And the first event Przemek mentioned, the Asian SEO conference, the virtual one, that is a virtual one, so no travel required for that. You just simply need to get the tickets and just make sure that you're free on those days and choose the sessions that you're interested in. And I think that you can have a solid knowledge about major Asian markets that you want to target. So actually, I'm a great friend with the host of the conference, and as a Korean SEO expert, I do have a lot of business partners in China, Japan, and Singapore, and Hong Kong. I actually recommended my favorite local SEO experts from those countries as well. So not only Korea, like when you're expanding your business to Asia, like every market is different, and also you gotta choose the best markets for your own needs as well. And then I think that SEO, that conference experience might make your decision, might ease your decision as well. Because I think like going for agencies and local experts, they're great, but I think before that, having a great like basic knowledge, I think it should come first, and then we can talk in the similar level. And then like once you show that you do have a basic, about something, then I think the conversation can even be better, with better understanding. And also for the Seoul conference, like yes, there will be a lot of great speakers coming up, not only from Korea, but also from like all over the world as well. And then I'll be emceeing there actually. So yeah, if we ever get to meet there, please just come say hi. And if you want to talk to me about your certain needs in Korean markets, you can just send me a message on LinkedIn and block my time. Then perhaps we can have a tea or lunch together. Yeah, I'm totally open to it.
Cristina, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for the knowledge you shared with us, and for bringing also this enthusiasm and the positive smile and attitude to the meeting. Thank you very much for it. Hope to see you somewhere soon. And now it's time to say good night, because it's already late in Korea, I think, right?
I think thanks to you being considering my time zone. It's only 6:30, so after this, I'm gonna have a really yummy dinner because I deserve it.
So enjoy your afternoon, enjoy your evening.
Will do. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and
Thank
as
you.
well as all the audiences as well. See you later.
Bye bye.
See ya.